Moving on to item F, ordinance 2025-01. Adding section 8.05.120 to the Walla Walla Municipal Code regarding downtown chalking cleanup requirements and taking such further action needed therewith. Mr. Donaldson, we'll turn the matter over to you. Thank you.
So I'll give a brief introduction, Your Honor. Courts have uniformly held that sidewalk chalking is a constitutionally protected form of expression. It's also been for at least 75 years now. Courts have also held repeatedly and consistently that cities, counties, governmental agencies can't regulate the content. There's not an exception for hate speech. So you just simply cannot, we cannot come up with a regulation here where we regulate the content of speech. That doesn't mean, however, that someone has a right to go and mark up a town repeatedly or consistently and leave it for somebody else to clean up and harass them when they do. So what this ordinance does is that it allows people still to use sidewalks to chalk messages. It doesn't restrict what people say. It does, however, require them to clean up after themselves. It also doesn't just apply to some people and not others. So the one thing that council should be aware of is you can't just regulate because there may be, you know, a particular segment or particular people who have created this issue. You can't just regulate them. You adopt this regulation, it applies to everyone. So, you know, the example that came to mind for me is that, you know, the Domestic Violence Coalition had on a particular day gone out and done chalk outlines on city sidewalks. It's you know, to raise awareness. You know, this ordinance would also apply, you know, to those. So it doesn't just apply to, you know, bad chalk markings. It applies to good chalk markings. It applies to indifferent chalk markings. What the ordinance does is that if someone applies sidewalk chalk or some other substance downtown on a sidewalk, they have to clean it up by sundown. If they decide to write their chalk messages after dark, they have to clean it up by the sundown of the following day. If a person doesn't, it's a $500 fine for each location that they didn't clean up. And it's an additional $500 for every day that they don't clean up. The city has compelling reasons for adoption of this ordinance that are detailed in the staff report and the materials that have been submitted. I'm happy to answer questions about those if the council has any. I recommend and encourage passage of the ordinance, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. We will allow public comment. Before we do that, let me just thank Mr. Donaldson again, as I have, and other members of council. I know that this has been an issue with us for some time. We have had lots of public comment and may continue to have it. And Mr. Donaldson has done a considerable amount of research with respect to what could be done or can't be done under applicable law. And I thank you, Mr. Donaldson, on behalf of the entire council, the city, for the considerable effort that you have put forth and what you have presented for our consideration. Is there anyone here in attendance who would like to comment on this matter? If so, come up to the lectern, identify yourself, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. My name is Dan Calzaretta, and I'm a resident of Walla Walla. I stand here tonight in support of this ordinance. For nearly 5 years, our city has been subjected to a almost daily barrage of chalk blight, mostly focused in downtown. This ordinance is a good first step to returning our downtown to its once beautiful and welcoming condition. But I also have 3 questions that I hope can get answered during your deliberations this evening. One is, will it be up to the police to identify chalking when it happens, identify the person chalking, and then return in the evening to make sure that the chalk is gone? 2, will other people be able to file a complaint, whether it's a resident, a city employee other than the police, a business person? And if so, who from the city will come by to make sure that that chalk has been erased per the ordinance? And third, what will be the actual mechanics of the enforcement of this ordinance? Will it be the police Will it be someone from the city to make sure that the chalk gets erased? Because really, for this ordinance to be successful, the proof is going to be in the enforcement pudding, so to speak. Unless the city is diligent about enforcing this ordinance, the chalk blight will continue. So with that, I think this is a good first step in dealing with the chalk issue. I did read all of the affidavit materials that were supplied with this ordinance. And part of that detailed business effort, time, and money to clean up chalk. It also talked about the city costs over the last 3 years to clean up the chalk. But there was one group that was left out that I think should be part of the public record. And that is a group of citizens who came together starting in the spring of last year and cleaned this chalk on an almost daily basis. A conservative estimate of the time that they spent every week was 120 hours cleaning up chalk. And I think it deserves to be part of the city record that effort was taking place. I appreciate that this is before you. I appreciate you considering it, and I urge all of you to vote yes on this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to comment on this proposed ordinance? Yes.
Just real quickly, Randall Sampson, I'm a resident of Walla Walla. Mr. Mayor and council, thank you, and staff. I want to especially thank staff, as you did, for their efforts in this regard. I appreciate the city taking the issue seriously. And while there may be some quibbling that we could all do with the final product, and there may be some wiggle room that only time will tell if it's the perfect fit for this problem, I think it's a good, solid place to begin addressing what a lot of citizens, I think, feel is a serious issue. Well, and while it may be anecdotal, you cannot go out and spend any time washing the blight, the graffiti, the litter away without being thanked by multiple people for your efforts. And I think that ought to be in the record as well. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this matter? Yes.
Hi, my name is Nora Marie. I'm a resident of Walla Walla County. I also work locally in Walla Walla, and I would just like to put on the record my experiences from the farmer's market, having tourists sit there and just be terrified and ask me if they're safe. From watching people walking by move their children to the other side of the road because they don't want them seeing that kind of messaging. I read through all of the affidavits, all the statements, and it is frankly disgusting that we've allowed this to go on so long. I'm just going to put that out there. This is hurting our town. And I understand that there's a free speech element here. I think that this ordinance is the appropriately fair way to go about it. And I do have some concerns about how it will be actually handled. Like what was mentioned, who will be enforcing this? How are we actually going to tell who is doing these chalk instances? For example, is a child who is, coloring a flower on the sidewalk, are they also going to be punished and fined for just being a kid? I have those types of questions. I think it's fair overall, but I do think I want to see more detail on how this plan will be carried out. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to comment on this matter?
My name is Misty. I live here in Walla Walla. I've been here for a little over 30 years. When 2020 rolled around and some of us had a certain way to deal with cooties and some of us had other ways to deal with cooties. When the person that has been main in question on this whole situation was attacked, which I've also seen on video. Health departments, all kinds of different agencies attacked some of us that didn't want to follow mandates. You guys were following certain protocols that were mandated by, some people call him Dr. Fauci. I don't know. Different health departments that had misinformation in the first place. And we're now finding out that those things were not true. And this person in question was attacked on a whatever the buses are called here. Nobody was on the bus. This one person was told that he couldn't be on a bus for a mask. And that kind of started a war, which I kind of witnessed it. I didn't even know the guy. I witnessed it and I thought, this is just totally against Constitution. And nobody would listen to him. And then I had situations here in town. Nobody would listen. The only way that some people thought that they could get their word out, their voice, was on chalk. Some of us did rallies. We got attacked. So he started doing chalk. And I went along with him. Some of it I agree with, some of it I don't agree with. But that's not really the point. The whole reason the First Amendment has been given is for all of us to have our voice. If you don't like what somebody, wait a minute, I'm backing up. Somebody said that the person that was chalking attacked somebody for cleaning it up. I know that's not true. I've witnessed this person for hundreds of hours. That has never happened. This person is probably one of the quietest people I've ever spoken to. Anyway, hitting up people for doing First Amendment, which is completely with the Constitution, for calling out the corruption in this town, is just completely hypocritical. And I'm just hoping that you guys think about the whole picture. First, Second, Third, Fourth Amendments all matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this proposed resolution? Ordinance, excuse me. Yes.
It's Andrea again. I am concerned that, like he said, about the domestic violence chalking. When they do those events and there's domestic violence chalking and that's not going to get erased, are we going to put the fine on the organization that did the rally? Is it going to be like an individual person that's going to be charged? Because when they do those events and they write chalk, is somebody from their group responsible to go around and make sure all that chalk is done? And if they don't, who are we all going to find? I understand why this ordinance is going on, that I know that there's people in the community that are frustrated with the chalking and what it says. And there are rights that we have. And my concern is that we're going to put an ordinance for, I assume, one person. I am assuming that this ordinance is coming to fruition, not because domestic violence left their chalk on the ground, not because the LGBTQ community that does their events in June and write their pro-pride events that are left there. Is this targeting them because they also chalk? So that we have many groups, and I feel that we are targeting one specific person in this community to make an ordinance about this chalk. Do I have a solution? No. I actually just heard about it and I introduced myself to Henry. I had a conversation with him. He's somebody in our community I may not agree with, but he is a person that does have a right to put his message out. And I understand people put their hours and time invested in cleaning. That's called volunteering. We do things in our community. I picked up garbage behind the dollar store in Rite Aid because I live in Eastgate. And we have homeless and we have garbage. We have Rite Aid that has just gone out of business. Joann's is going to go out of business. Are we going to put an ordinance for that? Are we going to put an ordinance for all the homeless that hide in a cubby and there's nobody that has that building, nobody that's going to call them up? I feel like this is targeted by one person.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to comment regarding this proposed ordinance? No one here? No, I'm sorry. Do we have anyone via Zoom who would like to comment?
Yes, Your Honor, we have David Schmalz. Get my system working here.
Yes, I'm one of those who have been volunteering to clean up this outrage in the downtown area. And I very much appreciate this proposal. I would have preferred it maybe a different form, but there were probably legal reasons why permitting this rather than writing an ordinance was the way to go. I would have preferred requiring someone wanting to chalk on the sidewalk to purchase a permit costing the estimated amount of cleaning up the mess and that amount to be refunded if the mess was cleaned up. That puts the obligation clearly on the graffiti maker. And again, I very much appreciate the idea that this ordinance is not about the content. It is about the context, that the presence of these things messes up the context of our community. And the, excuse me for this, but the absolutely outrageous continuance of this offense, and it is an offense to the civility of this community, that it's been tolerated this long is just, it just appalls me. So thank you for finally getting to the point where you're proposing an ordinance. I do have questions about who's going to enforce this, what amounts to evidence that is required in order to act upon enforcement. Do I need pictures? Do I need sworn statements? Will the police be doing routine circuits around town to check for chalking and note who's doing it? Do we need to submit photographs? I see 1,000 complications, but I see one less complication tonight, and that is that there's finally a potential legal recourse to suspend this outrage in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else via Zoom?
No additional raised hands, Your Honor.
All right, bringing the matter back to council. Questions, comments?
You want me to address or do you want me to wait? I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
address I can address
I anticipate some council
So
members will-
I'm going to ask Chief Butis to step up on there. Some of the questions that Mr. Calzaretta and Mr. Schmaltz asked were about the enforcement, and the chief and I have talked about that. I do want to thank both of them for, again, and apologize to them for not having pursued affidavits or declarations from them, and the community efforts, the additional community efforts that have gone on. I think that is, again, that just further demonstrates the need for the ordinance, and I appreciate them doing that. In answer to Mr. Schmaltz's questions about the amount of evidence and that, this is an infraction. And so it's a lower burden, it's a preponderance. And I'll let the chief talk about, how we will go about enforcing it, but it is something that we will be able to, if people take pictures of the person who's chalking, that's evidence that we're able to use. And Chief, I'll let you answer the questions and I'll follow up if I think there's anything I need to fill in.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Mayor, council members, staff, First off, I appreciate everybody's comments towards this. This has been an ongoing event, ongoing phenomenon where we have heard complaints that we're just not doing what we should to be enforcing this. Should council pass this ordinance, enforcement looks like a lot of different things. You've heard me say this before on other events. Enforcement is education. It's optimism of compliance or getting voluntary compliance through that education and talking to people about them. When a new ordinance is passed, there's I call it a grace period where we want to make sure everybody understands fully what the ordinance is. And so addressing that with people who are committing violations before heavy-handedly issuing infractions or taking it to that next level. So I appreciate Mr. Calzetta's concerns about how enforcement looks. It's new. It's going to have growing pains, but we envision it. There's cameras throughout downtown. Oftentimes chalking is done openly right out where we see it. The police see it, citizens see it, taking photographs, submitting those photographs to us, writing a report that documents who that person is. My officers, code enforcement, are really, really good about identifying people. And when these pictures come in, we submit the pictures, identify the person, submit the facts of the case, would turn it over to the city attorney's office that would be submitted to district court for enforcement action if it rose to the level of an infraction. So gathering evidence is not going to be incredibly difficult. It's time consuming. But it's not impossible. It will be a challenge in the beginning to learn the process and make sure everybody's following the process. But it's, I guess, simplifying it. If somebody's observed writing chalk, the ordinance says it's during the day. It needs to be cleaned up by nighttime. We look at the cameras, we identify the person. We come back the next day, it's not removed. We take those photographs, we date, timestamp the initial photographs or the video, and then we would write that report and submit it, and it would be up to the court. Now, the option is for most infractions, if they happen in the presence of an officer, we can cite you right there. If it's a repeated intentional violation and we witness it, then we can issue the infraction on the spot.
Chief, thank you. There may be questions from council,
I
but
will stay here
before we
for
go
you.
to council, anything further you would like to say on it?
I just appreciate Mr. Donaldson taking the time to research it and present this to you.
Anything further, Mr. Donaldson, before we have,
No, and I just want to answer the one question about this targeting one person. No, it does not target one person. I recognize that the actions of one person have made this an issue for us, but the ordinance is not targeted at one person. It applies to everyone here in town. And again, in terms of the, as the chief said, with any enforcement, we don't go through and heavy-handedly start handing out infractions to everyone. We go through and we educate and we, but if it becomes a problem, if people are not going to voluntarily comply, then we do start writing the infractions and we do start taking them to court and we do start getting the fines and we will collect the fines.
anyone, if this ordinance is passed, may continue to chalk whatever they want on the sidewalks, but they have to clean it up by sundown of that day. Is that correct?
Correct.
So even a Beatle fan chalking, all you need is love, by sundown, that has to be erased from the sidewalk.
That's correct. And again, I'll just comment, one of the business owners who gave a declaration who talked about, again, it's the same cleanup. It's the same mess for them to clean up, whether it's a good message or a bad message. So again, it is, you wouldn't be able to say, yeah, if it's a message of love, you don't have to clean it up. We have to.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yep.
Questions, comments from council? Councilmember Robinson.
Yes, I've been thinking a lot about how I wanted to address this meeting. This is a very difficult subject, but I guess the first question I would ask is the First Amendment absolute, sir?
on what you're able to regulate, yes, there's not a gray area here. So in
Okay.
terms of, and again, I've said this before that I for, since I was a kid, we've had courts enforce, and force cities to let Nazis have parades.
Mm-hmm.
Just simply the law. That is, again, whether it's hate speech, or labeled as hate speech, is you have a right to say it. In terms of the chalking being a form of expression or constitutionally protected, it is. I mean, I've looked everywhere. I've looked for anything at all, and it's uniform. I mean, it's the authorities are uniform that it is a constitutionally protected form of expression. So you're limited in your ability to regulate here. And what you're able to regulate is, in essence, time, place, and manner, and making people clean up after themselves.
So the way I'm interpreting this, because I completely 100% agree with you and your interpretation, and thank you for all the work you put into it, is that this ordinance isn't really about speech. If you think about it, this is about maintenance of public sidewalks. This has nothing to do with what someone is writing. This has absolutely nothing to do with any one person. This is genuinely about our right as a council to affect maintenance of public property. When you go to a park and you camp and you leave trash behind, the city, if it's a public park, has the right, don't they, to fine you if you leave trash, right? So regardless of what the content of the trash is, if you're leaving something behind that we as the city or a property owner are incurring expenses to pick up, we're just regulating that, correct?
Correct.
So for anyone that's concerned about First Amendment, we're having two very different conversations, aren't we? We're really talking about maintenance of our public sidewalks, right?
Correct.
And don't we as a city have an obligation to maintain and make sure that our public sidewalks that the taxpayers are putting their money into, that they expect to be usable and to be safe? Aren't we required to provide maintenance of those public sidewalks?
We put in the record that hundreds of thousands of dollars that we spend downtown maintaining and beautifying our downtown. So the answer is yes, we do. That's again, and we didn't start just doing this in response to the problem that we've had. This has been ongoing for many, many, many years that we maintain our downtown. We have done all of this. And again, I put this in the record. It's not part of just beautifying our downtown. It's part of been the revitalization of our downtown. And so it is something that, again, we have more than just an interest in the appearance of our downtown. We have an economic interest in our downtown, and we have absolutely have an interest in protecting our people from, being harassed when they're having to clean it up. So again, it is absolutely right to make the people who make the mess clean up the mess.
I didn't hear speech in any of what he just said, and I suspect no one else heard it. All I heard was maintenance of public sidewalks, which is something that we have the right to regulate. And as you point out, if someone does something that affects tourism, you just said that there's an economic issue in play here, correct? If we are not maintaining our public sidewalks, we risk economic consequences by harming local businesses, correct? And so in order for us to maintain our city plan and our city values, we must maintain the public sidewalks. No further questions, nothing at all. I hear nothing but maintenance. I like maintenance.
Before we have further public comments, we have a rule that our meeting will 30 unless there's a motion made that we continue beyond that date or on that time, excuse me. So at 9:20 now, does someone want to move that we continue this meeting beyond that cutoff time?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
He moved and.
Oh, okay. I didn't, I'm sorry. All right. We have a motion and a second to continue beyond the 9:30 cutoff time. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Continuing then with comment, did you have some comments, Councilman Rascal?
Yeah, this ordinance seemed very well crafted to me. It's content neutral. It focuses purely on cleaning up downtown, keep it clean, and I believe it would withstand any court challenges. I think it's a great ordinance, and I'm going to vote for it.
Councilmember Willis.
Just a point of clarification, one of the members of the public mentioned, this is geographically bounded, right? We're only imposing this ordinance in the downtown core, right?
I would ask that we have the city clerk put together a map, and it's just so you can see. And it's focused on our downtown core because that is where we have a record. I mean, again, for us, this consistent, 25-year plus record of revitalization and, our interest in our downtown. So yes, it is limited to our downtown.
So to address the issue of the little girl doing a sidewalk, chalking of a flower in her own neighborhood, we're not really
No,
putting that at
it's
risk.
just downtown. Yeah, it's just, and again, when I put it together, when I run each day, there's a sidewalk that I run on that the little girls, they have little flowers and messages and it doesn't apply to, the messages that are put in the neighborhood. So it's directly, applicable to downtown because, that's where we have this special, this special interest that we've, in our revitalization of the downtown.
So, on that point, homophobic chalking could be put on a sidewalk outside this area, and this ordinance does not apply to that, correct?
Well, it could be put inside.
No,
well,
outside,
but
outside.
yeah, I understand, but I mean, it could also be applied inside, but it had to be cleaned up. Outside, there's not a requirement that it doesn't have the same requirement that.
Councilmember Reyna.
Chief Beautis, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I have a question for you, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but our dispatch system, if I understand correctly, it's next gen, which means you can text to it. You can text to 911.
That is correct.
So if a citizen has a photo, they would be able to upload it or to send it via text to the dispatch system?
I
or-
do not believe that the system's designed for
Okay.
photographs at this time.
So perhaps as part of a continuous refinement of enforcement, there may be an opportunity for citizens to submit photographs to a particular place, whether it's
we
an
have-
email address or something else.
I apologize for talking over you. I think there's some software in the works for citizens to report things
Okay.
that the potential could be uploaded through that. Now, having said that, we are going on to a new contract with New World, which is our records management system. There is an opportunity for an upload link for officers at the time to upload photographs to that. I think, my understanding, I'm not the tech wizard on this yet, and it's a new system that we're exploring, that the officers can send a link to the reporting party that can attach to that link.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that until we
No, no.
actually get that set, but I believe there's tools in progress that will help.
Sure.
Make
But
that
certainly
easier.
the opportunity exists today. If you see a pothole that you want to report to code enforcement, you have an email address that you can send
That is correct.
photographs to make sure that the city is aware of whatever.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And since I have you here, I understand how it impacts us all. Downtown is an economic engine of the city, and that it generates a lot of sales taxes. That, as you know, it's what really fuels a lot of our services, including the police department, the fire department, the library, the pool, et cetera, et cetera. So when we have a disruption to our ability as a city to generate the tax revenue that is going to support our services, we really have a problem. And so it's not affecting just a singular part of the population, it's affecting the entire city and the entire city services. So I want to make sure that I make the emphasis on that, but thank you very much for your response.
Councilmember Casey, did you have any questions, comments? Councilmember Moss?
Just to reiterate, if this is passed this evening, when would the ordinance become effective?
Immediately.
And for the chief's explanation, there'll be kind of a soft rollout, my terminology, to explain to people what the ordinance is about and how they can address or obey the
Correct.
laws.
Correct, but we will begin immediately enforcing it. I mean,
Great.
it's,
Thank you. And
Yeah.
again, I want to thank staff for the research and work on this. And I know that a lot of people in the community have been waiting for a long time. And so we're finally there. Thank you.
Three comments. One, it's unfortunate that this isn't a criticism of the First Amendment by any means, but it's unfortunate that case law, as it were, ties our hands in a situation like this, that we have to jump through legal procedural hoops to get to where we are. And again, that's not a criticism of judges who have made those decisions of the First Amendment, but it is somewhat frustrating when we have an issue like this that we cannot specifically focus on. I understand time, place, and manner, and we've done that through this the ordinance, but comment number one. Number two, I'm concerned, and I share with some of the people who have commented about ordinance, or excuse me, enforcement. And that's not a criticism of anybody, but I anticipate that we may have some enforcement problems, as you, Chief, commented on. If an individual is thought to be responsible for a chalked message that isn't erased by sunset, and that individual or those individuals are repeat chalkers that we know, and so they're cited, and we go to court and they say, I didn't do it. And if we don't have hard evidence, someone who is believed by the judge that, yes, I saw X or Y doing that chalking, or a photograph, enforcing that ordinance and getting the fine levied is going to be difficult, which puts an increased burden, I know, Chief, on your department, and not that you don't already have enough to deal with, but I would hope that your direction to your officers will be, we'll have, using maybe Councilmember Moss's soft rollout for a while, the education to begin with. But I would hope that we don't delay too long in citing folks and finding folks supported by appropriate convincing evidence if we have violations, because I anticipate, I hope I'm wrong, but my prediction is that we'll probably continue to have chalking that doesn't get erased by sunset, and so, or sundown. And so again, I'm sorry, Chief, your department's workload has increased substantially, but maybe initially, if there are some fines issued and payments having to be made, maybe we'll deal with the problem. Third and last comment, and I hope what I refer to, the information is wrong, but we council members have all received recently an email from a person referencing this chalking situation. And in that email, the person who sent it to all of us said that there is and identified a local church that has been supportive or helpful of, or whatever, this chalking. I hope that's wrong, because from my point of view, I think supporting the types of messages that are chalked, the offensive messages, we heard the word hypocrisy earlier this evening in a different context, but that to me would be the epitome of hypocrisy for a local church to be supporting, encouraging that type of chalking. So I'm hoping that that email message that we got from the person that we have all received is incorrect. And if it isn't, that church may have, I guess, something to answer for, but those are my comments. Any further comments from council before we entertain a motion? Councilmember Robinson.
Just a quick question. Is Pioneer Park considered part of the downtown core?
No, the only parks in the downtown are Heritage, the one out here that we call Crawford Park, which is now a transit station, and then the Walla Walla Plaza is. So that Pioneer Park is outside of this area.
If it were to become necessary, because Pioneer Park is a major tourist destination and there are a lot of children that go to Pioneer Park, could we examine placing city parks under this ordinance or crafting an ordinance for it? Because that is something that my constituents have been asking me about. And if we're going to do maintenance, we do have to make sure that high traffic areas receive maintenance as well.
I can look at that in the future, but I can't do that now. It's just for the downtown area alone, it's been hundreds of hours. And so, and we have to be able to justify it in terms of showing that we have a sufficient governmental interest. And so I don't know that we can expand it beyond that. I'm comfortable and confident in our regulations for our downtown for the reasons I've stated in it. But at this point in time, I don't want to give any kind of indication that we have, the documentation and that to expand it beyond that. So that's my answer for now.
I appreciate the answer and I understand where you're coming from. I just would urge you to put that on the radar, and that needs to be something researched down the road.
Any further questions, comments? What is the pleasure of council with respect to ordinance 2025-01 to add section 8.05.120 to the Walla Walla Municipal Code regarding downtown chalking cleanup requirements and taking such further action needed therewith?
Your Honor, I move that we approve ordinance 2025-01, adding section 8.05.120 to the Walla Walla Municipal Code regarding downtown chalking cleanup requirements and taking such further action needed therewith, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion carries unanimously.